Right, so I'm gonna start first talking a bit about what our aim was. So we started looking at how the different actions concerning this complex could be organized. So we came with these three categories. We have inside spaces, outside spaces, and then we focused on what could happen in between those two. So some actions that are not specifically inside actions nor outside actions. So those things that could happen in both places. This would be the general overview of the complex itself. So I'm gonna talk through it a bit more in detail. So first, we started with the outside space. So these would be some of the actions that we came up with. So before actually doing anything in the place, in the complex, we had a look to what was happening at the moment, because we could actually saw some issues regarding accessibility, for example, and the use of cars, and lacking some spaces and linking spaces between the different open areas that we had. This was the master plan, let's say, like before, and then this would be with some improvements, which were mainly restricting the use of vehicles inside the complex and incorporating some productive areas that I'll talk through them further in a moment, and then creating this big open area in the center that could be used as a link between the different sectors in the complex. Then we went to the in-between spaces, which we call them like hotspots, which were some hotspots that we identified and we try to improve. So this one here would be this main plaza that I talked to you about before, that it's right in the middle of the complex. So the photography, well, the drawing on the left would be the previous state, and then on the right, the like the updated picture of it. This would be the axonometry of how it will look like. So this area will be hosting this building, which is a mixed-use building formed by this lower part would be a kindergarten, and the higher part would be offices. And you have this whole plaza in order to develop different of the different activities that we've seen before that could happen outside. So mainly sports, leisure, all of those. Then we updated as well this sports center. So we used this space that was mainly empty and abandoned, and we worked on this new sports center. This would be how it would look like, and how this would be. So it was mainly like a two-story building. So you will have like the bathrooms and changing areas and some kind of gym on the lower part, and then you will go on the upper part and it would be outdoors. So you will like combine these two different kind of spaces. Then another hotspots would be these urban gardens that will happen in between these residential buildings that we have. So because of the shape that they had, we thought that it would be like a good idea to actually optimize that space and create some kind of a community that could work on those spaces there. That would be how it would look like. Again, like some more plans. So you will have these central pieces that would be a bit higher than the actual living spaces. So there you could grow crops, so the community living there could actually take care of that and work on them. And then I think this is the last one, the innovation hub. So we use this housing typology, which was kind of not updated anymore, and it was used for disabled people. So we kind of transformed them to use them as this innovation hub, which is again a productive space for the different communities living there. That would be how it would look like. Yeah, so this is mainly offices, meeting points, cafeteria, those kind of things. Again, open space is mixed with indoor space and outside space. And then lastly, I'm gonna talk a bit about housing. So we divided the different actions that could happen in the house. Then we came up with some strategies that we kind of applied into every housing typology. So first, we try to open the interiors as much as possible to optimize the space and the resources that could actually be there. We added one extra floor because we had to re-densify the area and host more people than original they were before. We changed the roofs into flat ones that can be walked through and can also host activities like gathering or gardening and installations and stuff like that. We did some changes on the like on the facades. So we changed the windows into a more wider and kind of modern ones. And then we changed the vertical connections between the different floors, and we did this with new materiality, so you would be actually able to distinguish the original piece from the added pieces that we had. So this would be the first typology that we studied, which was this one story for one family building. So again, left side is the previous state, right side is the updated space. So here you can see these vertical connections that I've talked you through, and these flat roofs. And then you have some numbers there of how we've optimized the different spaces inside. So kitchen, for example, gets a bit bigger. The bedrooms, again, they get a bit bigger. And how we could actually host on the same space on the plan, we could host more people. Again, of course, because of doubling the floor. Then type B, which was 2-story, one family. So we've kept that. It's also only hosting one family, but we changed the interior, of course, and we changed roofs. Here you don't have vertical connections because we haven't added any upper floors. So that strategy wouldn't be applied here, but again, that would be the same. So because of that, in this case in particular, you wouldn't change the densifying of the housing type. Then type C, this was a multi-family 2-story building. We added 1 story, so therefore, again, we have more families there, and that's how it would appear. And then this is the last one, which would be the biggest ones. Again, we added 1 floor, changed the interior, and here you can see these vertical connections that happened between the different floors and with the rooftop. Yeah, and I think that would be all of it. I kind of going through it a bit fast because my partner is not here. Maybe she would have talked a bit more about some of the parts that she did. But if you guys have any questions or comment, I would just be happy to develop anything into more detail.
Thank you very much, Iris. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
There is a question, or I have an observation. Iris, thank you very much. I think that the in-between is a topic of your work and is crucial in this epoch for me, because is the tool to develop the public space and the dwelling situation. I like of your project the strategies, because you don't work to a big idea to transform with a strong impact, but to explain like a tool, many little operation to remove a wall, to insert an elevator, to organize the interior space like this. Yeah. I like very much this approach, very, I don't know how, delicate in one sense. Probably if you have another week to develop, you can try to involve it more the facade. So, because now you work inside the space, outside the building, yeah, but probably you can emphasize the relation and the dotation, for example, of balcony or other function to increase the quality of a house. I think that a little step for the future in your work. And also, I think that inside you can work to not to remove a wall, but to understand how a wall can be. For example, can wall must be a movement or to activate a relation inside the house to many possibility to use the space. I think that these two little adjust to your strategies can be working well in your work. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
totally agree with you. Yeah, thank you.
Is it possible to watch the point where you overwrite the building with a new element, a new volume, stay in connection over the existing building? The point where is the old man housing? This is a slide. It was really interesting from your presentations. It's in a part where you build a new building over the ground floor of existing building. I don't know if you can show that point, because I think it's really an interesting interpretation starting from a basic basement. It's in a it's
Was it in here in Hausen?
yes, it's no, you go 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 in the part of the master plan where the building
Okay,
only one
master plan.
floor. Yeah, yeah. This part. Well done.
Those part. Or that one? That one?
This. I really like that kind of interpretations. I think it's really an interesting point of the project. To change the space with an innovation hub and with a really new part of the project inside our traditional systems. I think it's really a dynamics point of your project. I think it's the best part of the project. I want to ask you if you think to use that kind of technique in other point of the master plan, and if why you use only in this point that kind of condition for the new buildings.
Yes, so what we mainly did was try to figure out some parts of the, like in the master plans that were more important. So how could we highlight them? And it's true that we kind of changed them in a different way, each part. So this one here works okay. But then the other one, for example, the one I was talking with the sports area, as there was nothing happening there, we could not intervene. So we actually had to make something up from zero, from scratch. So we didn't follow, you know, like in housing, we did have a really straightforward strategy to go through every housing typology, but because the rest of the master plan was kind of messy in a way, we kind of studied its hotspot and then intervene them in a different way. So there's no like a strategy following them. Here it worked good because we had this pre-existing building that, you know, kind of had like this movement and these inside spaces, in between spaces. So this really came up really good. But some other parts there were not any elements that we could actually get profit from, so we had to made it up, everything actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Simone.
Sorry.